very first release from Elijah List Music Productions.
He heard my cry, and he thundered from heaven to rescue me. Oh, hallelujah!
He Reached Down.
Praise you, Jesus!
By Peter Spencer. Receive your copy when you partner with Prophetic.tv in a gift of $25 or more.
He reached down, and he took hold of me.
Log on to Prophetic.tv or call 888-541-PROPHETIC. That's 888-541-7767.
Oh, you're my hero. Oh, Jesus, you're the hero of my world. You took hold of me. Hallelujah.
Welcome to Prophetic TV with your host, Elijah List founder, Steve Shultz. Prophetic TV is a production of Elijah List Ministries. To find out more, log on to Prophetic.tv. Today, Steve's guest is author and minister in France, Anne Elmer.
Well, Anne, it's good to have you here. You're our first European guest I think we've had. You are from the UK, but you live in France. Why do you live in France, being from Britain?
Oh, we moved there 24 years ago with my husband's job.
You don't have a French accent here, do you?
I can say it all in French if you want.
I wouldn't know the difference, though.
No, I'm from the north of England, between Manchester and Liverpool, in Lancashire. But 24 years ago, we moved to France with my husband's job. Nothing to do with the Lord at that time, except it was obviously by his design, and it was quite dramatic. But anyway, we're very happy in France now.
And so now, the reason you're here, of course, is because you've had a tremendous experience.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's the first book we've ever published called Transported by the Lion of Judah, which we're going to show on the screen separately, which is available in how many languages? About to be available?
At the moment available in 3, but 3 more are in the pipeline and should be out certainly before the end of the year.
Okay, so tell me the story, because this is why I wanted you here today. What happened? And well, let's just go ahead and start.
What happened?
Yeah, because you and I sat across the table in France, and you told me the story, and I said we got to publish this. Okay, so tell me the story so our viewers can see that.
Briefly, I got very sick, and when I was away in hospital in a small village in the south of France, where I knew nobody and nobody knew me, and the Lord told me he had taken me there because he wanted to teach me some things. And so he taught me lots of things. The most important thing was how much he loved me. But he did it by revealing himself to me as the Lion of Judah.
Now, let me stop for a second. You got very sick. You ended up at a hospital room where, like you had said, nobody knew you.
Yes. Because we were on holiday in the south of France at the time.
Okay. How did this lion first show up? Because that's what the book is about. And we're going to leave some mystery, but I mean, how did this lion appear the first time?
The Lord gave me several visions about creation, and I saw lots and lots of eyes, and the recurring eyes were the lion, the eyes of a lion. I hadn't realized before, but I know now that if you look at an animal's eyes, you can see what animal it is, that the eyes are so different. He's a wonderful God of creation, isn't he? And I recognized the lion's eyes, and I asked the Lord why the lion's eyes kept appearing, and he said, I want you to think about the Lion of Judah. So I did. And then all of a sudden he was there. He was as close as you are to me now, and I didn't dare touch him because I thought I would die if I really touched him.
But it looked
really
that
there.
real.
But he was
not a spiritual translucent. It looked real.
No, it was a very real presence of the Lord in the room. Okay. Yes.
And how did you, so then what happened?
Well, he was just there, and then I think it was the following day when I was ready to take a nap in the afternoon, and I was settling down, and it was like he was there again, and he spoke, and he said, it can be just as refreshing to go out with someone you love as it can be to take a nap.
What a line. Wow.
Do you want to take a nap, or do you want to go out with me? And I think I made the right choice. So I chose to go out with him. And we walked in the spirit, I suppose, but we walked through a forest for 2.5 hours. And 2.5 hours in my real time. I don't know how long it really took. Maybe just 2 minutes. I don't know. But I walked with him for 2.5 hours, and he sang secular songs to me. Not church songs.
Secular songs
Songs. Like the Beatles, Love, Love Me Do. Fantastic words.
Fantastic words.
You know, I'll always be true, so please love me do. It's amazing to have the King of Kings sing that to you, I can tell you.
We were just talking about the Beatles the other day, and I said, you know, when the Beatles tapped into something, they were very anointed, and every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven.
Yes.
So when it was good, it was God.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so he wasn't being religious. He was just saying, "This is, I wrote this."
A song from a
basically
heart.
what he's saying.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. A lot of secular songs. He sang songs from the shows, and he sang the sort of music I liked, because that's God too. He knows what we like.
Now, were you startled that he sang?
No. Nothing.
I would be startled if he sang a secular song to me.
I don't think you would if you were already talking to a lion in your bedroom.
I suppose not. So you felt like suddenly you were transported,
yes,
which is the name of the book, Transported by the Lion of Judah.
But later on I had more real transporting, if you like.
While you're still in the hospital, right?
Yes. I was 3 weeks in the hospital, and during that time I visited 14 places of worship across the world, 14 different countries. 12 of the places were Christian churches, and 2 were non-Christian churches. One was a Buddhist temple, and the other was a Jewish synagogue.
I want to address that for a minute, because when I've talked about this book, I've had more interest in the Buddhist temple story than in anything that I've read. So tell that story.
Well, we had already been to, and I think the two are linked, we had been to a Buddhist temple. We had been to a Christian church that used to be a Buddhist temple the day before in my visit, okay? And the Lord had shown me how the Christians there were purifying the land and claiming it for him, and purifying the temple, and the praise was very important. I didn't like the praise because it was Eastern style music, but he loved it because it came from their heart.
Now these were the Christians.
These were Christians.
Okay.
Yes. And so I had that sort of fresh in my mind, and the following day we went to a place where in the previous day there had been a worship group. There was a huge statue of Buddha. And I recognized that this was still a Buddhist temple. And there were people all over the temple in yoga positions, and obviously meditating. And the lion left me at one side, and he walked among the people. Some he breathed on, and some he brushed up against. Some he licked, and he just sort of communicated with them. And he told me afterwards that those were the ones that were really searching, and that they would come into Christianity very soon.
So what he's saying, obviously, let me just restate it, but he's saying the people that I brushed up against or licked or breathed on are the people that are really God-seeking people, and I am going to make myself available. And he was actually doing the very thing he was doing. He was brushing up. You know, we talk in Christian circles about the Spirit woos us. So God's presence, in this case, the Lion of Judah, was going up and wooing non-saved people.
Yes. Isn't that what he does all the time?
But did it surprise you at that time, or by then were you not surprised?
No, I don't. Nothing within the visions surprised me. When I reflected on them, maybe a lot of things surprised me. But within the vision, I was not capable of being surprised, I think. It was just a case of watching.
Tell me about the synagogue one, the Jewish synagogue.
Oh, that was amusing. I overheard conversations between women.
This was in Israel? Or just...
I supposed in Israel, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the women were separate from the men, of course. But we could see, I thought at first it was Jesus at the front who had been reading the Isaiah passage about My mind has gone blank about the Isaiah passage,
It's
but
like
you can help me.
the Spirit of the Lord
Lord
is
upon me.
Yes.
Yes, that one.
He's anointed
And
me to...
That's right. And he
Yes.
went on to talk about the difficult times that Israel was facing and saying that they needed to seek the Lord more and more and more. And the lady at the side of me turned to her neighbor and said they could well end up finding Jesus. And so the conversation went on.
The lady sitting beside you, was she Jewish?
Yes.
And
yes.
so she knew, she was in a synagogue, and she knew that they could find Jesus.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there was a conversation between her and another lady about somebody in their family who had just done that and become a Messianic Jew, and caused chaos within the family because it's not easily accepted by traditional Jews.
Why do you feel that the Lord wanted to take you around the world? What was his point in doing this?
I asked him, and he said, just as any fiancé would share his life with his fiancée, he was telling me what he was doing all around the world.
And what was your most
Nice,
amazing Christian experience where you went to a Christian church?
Oh, the most amazing one, I don't know.
Or the most interesting or intriguing?
I went to so many different places. I loved a little church in Holland. It was only very small, and it was in a windmill. And their seats weren't comfortable. It was just very plain and ordinary. And people were falling asleep during the service. And so I gave the lion a dig and said, look, they're going to sleep. And he said, that's okay, they're very tired. And he went on to be he was always positive, always positive. But he went on to be positive about these particular people in this church and said they worked very hard, but they were faithful to him, and they came in spite of the tiredness. And then he left me and he walked along the rows in the windmill and trod specifically on the feet of the congregation. And then by the time he arrived at the front, the back row were up and dancing. And it was lovely, absolutely lovely.
So he was, by his presence, he was just creating the atmosphere.
And he was energizing the people to dance. Doesn't he need to do that in some churches today? It was lovely.
That's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did you go out from this hospital altogether?
14 visits,
14?
yes.
So that
I went to
literally 14
churches.
times you would leave the room?
Yes.
And I asked you before, was this in the body or out of the body? And your answer is...
I really don't know.
You don't know?
No.
It was so real...
But it was very real, yes.
...that you would actually have to say, I don't know if I was actually with him or it was...
St. Paul didn't know, and who am I compared with St. Paul? I don't know.
Understand, yeah, that's good. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the church in Europe, the church in France, and some of these other things. So we'll see you in just a minute.
Introducing the very first Elijah Seasons Prophetic Jewish Full Color Calendar for 2008. It's a calendar like no other, filled with exquisite prophetic artwork suitable for framing from such artists as Chris Fields, Robert Bartow, and Akiana. The Elijah Seasons calendar also features prophetic meanings of colors, prophetic meanings of numbers. It's formatted with both the Latin and Jewish calendar systems. Each day, you'll find listed major historical events, Christian and Jewish holidays, and monthly scripture verses. Get your order in now for the one-of-a-kind Elijah Seasons 2008 calendar, brought to you by the Elijah List. Order yours today when you partner with Prophetic TV in a gift of $26 or more. Just log on to prophetic.tv or call 888-541-PROPHETIC. That's 888-541-7767.
So, Ann, we're back. This is fascinating. I love this story.
I do too.
You were saying when we were off the air, off the camera, that you're talk to me about the age you were and the meanings.
Right. I was 56. It's 5 years ago. I was 56 when it happened. And my father had died at the age of 56, and his father had died at the age of 56. So we had suspected that there was some sort of curse on the family, and the firstborn particularly. And so I lived through it because Jesus died to break the curse. So that's quite exciting.
One of the things we were talking about is the fact that, we're sort of led to believe that by the time we've gotten gray hair, or in my case, no hair, our best days are behind us.
Oh no, just beginning. Just
beginning.
Yes, for my 60th birthday, I put out an invitation saying, quoting Genesis 9, I think it's verse 3, where God said to Noah that the days of man shall be 120. So on my birthday invitation, I said we're halfway there. And my intention is to keep going until I'm 120. Why not?
That is awesome.
Certainly I feel younger. And yeah, I know the Lord has lots for us to do yet.
So do you feel he's saying that that might be a secondary message, that he's talking to the older generation, the over 50s?
Okay. Yes, possibly. Yes, we're all supposed to dream dreams and have visions at any age, I think.
Now, in America, I don't know if you have them over there, we have lots and lots and lots of what they call retirement. Not convalescent, not nursing homes, but just retirement homes. Does God have a lot for them left to do?
Oh, yes, loads. Oh, they can't move so much, they can pray, and there's so much to pray for. But I think the Lord can reveal himself at any age, to anybody. He doesn't, it's not over till it's over.
That's great. Talk to me about Europe, because now, I saw you a couple days ago. I said, there was a couple of days, a few weeks ago, that I actually became, it only lasted a few hours, but I almost was anti-Europe because I got so tired of people being anti-American. And I got mad. And then I repented of it and I got over it.
Good.
Which is good, because God loves you. And I've been to Europe, I've been to your churches there in France, and I love the people there. But if you get too far outside of the church doors in France, it can get kind of negative against an American. So talk to me about what God's doing in Europe in a way that people will be educated or encouraged or whatever.
I think the first thing has to be, don't believe the media. God is above the media, and he's doing lots. I can't tell you what he's doing all over Europe because I don't know. But I do know that the churches are growing. There are a lot of new, small churches growing up in France. And yes, our church is part of an organization that I think has 26 smallish churches as a part of it now. So it's growing.
Now, I don't know whether this is a prophetic question or just a church question, but how does the church in Europe that you've seen, and they're all these countries are real close, we've driven through, how do they compare to what we know in America?
Oh, there's no comparison. No comparison. Here there's a church on every street corner. You have so much more freedom to be who you are.
We sort of take it for granted then.
I think you do. I think the noticeable thing in France is that nobody talks about religion at all. Certainly not in their job. It is definitely not, I won't say not allowed, definitely frowned upon to speak about your faith. I think the thing about Christians is you can be a Christian and nobody will know. If you're a Muslim, everybody knows because of what you wear. And so a lot of Christians are particularly hidden. A lot of people wear crosses, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a Christian
today. It's a fashion statement.
Yes, or it means you were confirmed or baptized or something when you were a child, not necessarily that you're a believer. Although the number of fish signs on cars are definitely growing. There are many, many more now than there used to be.
And you've seen that in the last just few years?
Yes, certainly. And in the Paris area 25 years ago, when we moved there, there were very few lively churches. But now there are lots. Lots of them are Africans, African communities that have brought their own church over or started one.
Do you feel the warfare in one sense is greater, or is it just different over there? You've been to both places, and you've lived in both places. Or
are you comparing it with Britain or
well,
America?
Let's say Europe, Britain, compared with here. Is the warfare different?
I think it's probably different.
Is it harder or just different?
I think it's just different. I can't say it's harder. I think with warfare, it's important to do what you're called to do, and only what you're called to do.
That's right. That's good.
And if you're trying to do something you're not called to do, then you'll find it hard. And if you're finding it too hard, then you're probably doing the wrong thing.
Now, one of the things you're called to do is hospitality.
Yes.
What does that mean, first of all? And I actually know part of the answer because I've experienced it, but I want to hear it in your words.
It's definitely a gift. And the Lord has given us the ability to open our home to strangers. I'd love to say we've entertained angels unawares, like it says in Hebrews 13. We've certainly entertained some very interesting people. Most of it, 99% of it, is a blessing. Sometimes it can be very frustrating, but
You've
generally
had
it's
as
okay.
many as what? How many people staying in your house?
Oh, when you were there, we were a lot, weren't we?
Yeah.
We had, I think we had 13, and the children were outside in tents.
But when you
something.
don't have ministries like ours visiting, you
Yes.
still had people from India.
Yes, we've had, at one time, we had a couple from Nepal, a couple from Tibet, and a German girl, all at the same time, and none of them were Christians.
And this was a calling that God put on your life,
Yes.
obviously. How did these people come in contact with you?
Because they were all working in a local hotel, and the local hotel asked us to take them, and so we did. So I have to say none of them were Christians when they left either, which is very sad, but they all knew who we were.
Okay.
We have had people stay with us, students who've stayed for a year or 2 years and become Christians whilst they've stayed with us.
That's what I was going to ask you about. What's your sort of, and I think, we always talk about the prayer of salvation. Did you pray with someone to receive Christ? We've often said, well, the Bible doesn't have one of those prayers in there. It just says we're supposed to go out in the highways and byways, which you're doing, and compel them to come in. And you're becoming a compelling voice through your hospitality.
Yes, and I think it's not so much what we say as what we live and who we are. We've had people say things to us like, "You've renewed my faith in the family," because they see in our family a family which works. And too many people out there come from broken homes and have no faith in a family. So just that is a witness for what Christ would have us do. So we don't have to preach all the time, we just be.
Now you go out and about, and you've had other experiences. What I wanted to ask you about is, and how much longer do we have?
3 minutes.
About 3 or 4 minutes. Talk about more after the hospital visits, which was 5 years ago, and now there's 5 books in these 5 years, and the audio one. You've had more visitations from the line of Judah. What's that? Tell me about that.
I can't create them. I would love to say I can ask him things and he just comes, but he doesn't. It's usually when he wants to teach me something or I've missed a point or something. But I've had 4 or 5 more quite long visitations.
Really? What's a long? What do you mean long?
Maybe ongoing. I had one particular one that went on over 3 or 4 weeks when the line of Judah would appear to me and we would be going somewhere. And I would say, "So where are we going? Where are we going?" And he would say, "Enjoy the journey." And every time I was in a worship service or praying, he was there taking me somewhere, but he would never tell me where we were going. Because I was supposed to learn, and I did eventually, that the message was, you're just spending time with me. And that's the most important. Where we were going didn't matter. We were spending time with him.
That's probably the lesson, huh?
Well, it certainly was for that particular one. Yes, yes, yes.
And so do you believe that in a sense he's appearing to a lot of people that don't even know that he's doing it? Well, it's like the Buddhist temple thing. He was licking and rubbing up against. Is he doing that all over the world in a sense?
Oh, I'm sure. I've had responses from all over the world as a result of the book. And I've had letters from people who say, "But I saw the line of Judah and I thought I was crazy," or "I didn't like to tell anybody," or something. I had somebody wrote not long ago and said, "I saw him and please pray that he comes again because I want to ask him lots of questions." So I wrote back and said, "You can't do that. Because when I'm in a vision, I don't remember at all the questions that I would have wanted to ask him."
You don't?
No. So I ask him questions when I'm praying normally.
When you're in vision, he's completely in charge.
Yes.
He teaches you what he wants to teach you. You don't get to ask questions much. Well, you've asked a couple of them, like, what were you doing over there?
Where are we going? But
and the answer is, it's none of your
business. He doesn't say a word more than he wants to say. No. So if I want to ask the Lord questions, then I do that in my ordinary time of prayer, and certainly not. And then maybe I get an answer in a vision. But.
So while you've had these, this is what I'm getting. While you've had all these experiences with this line of Judah, your experience with the Lord is not limited to those.
Oh no, not at all.
And neither do you rely on those experiences.
No.
So how would you define your experience with the Lord when you're not in that great place that we all wish we were with relying?
Yes. Then normally I live an ordinary, normal life like most people. I do say in the book that don't seek the visions, seek him. Because he might reveal himself to, well, he will reveal himself to other people in different ways. He's the one in control. And he deals with us all because he knows our hearts and knows what our future is.
One last question I want to ask you before our time is up, and that is, you said if he showed up once and you felt like he needed to correct you about something. You made a statement like that. Do you remember that one? If you missed the mark, or if you missed something, can you think of an example of that?
No, I can't. Not off the top of my head. I can think of a time when I didn't want to follow him. When he was climbing a narrow path in the rocks, and I thought, oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'd had enough hard times, and if this climbing the rock with him meant it was going to be difficult, I didn't want to go. But I did, because I made the decision to follow him. Very quickly we got to the top of this rock face and then looked out over a valley, and I felt like Abraham, and God was saying, look, this is all yours, just a little bit more climb and you're there at the top.
That's amazing. Well, Anne, it's been great having you here.
Well, nice
I love the story. I love the fact that this was our first book, and it's now going into, you're doing it in many other languages as well.
Yeah.
And we're going to let people know about how to get that or download that or whatever. And so thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We thank the Lion of Judah, Jesus, for coming too.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again.
Transported by the Lion of Judah is the riveting first-hand account of Anne Elmer as she was transported by Jesus, the Lion of Judah, to churches all around the world. You won't want to miss reading Anne's fascinating narrative of her travels with Jesus. To make Transported by the Lion of Judah a part of your reading library, partner with Prophetic TV in a gift of $18 or more. Log on to prophetic.tv or call 888-541-PROPHETIC. That's 888-541-7767. To view past and future episodes of Prophetic.tv or to make a donation, visit our website at www.prophetic.tv or call 888-541-PROPHETIC. That's 888-541-7767. Products mentioned during the show, as well as a DVD video or audio CD of this interview, may be obtained online or by phone. Prophetic.tv is a production of Elijah List Ministries.